Hi everyone, and welcome to Coffee Chat. We are here today with Mitch and Jeff from the band Midnight Renegade, a local band. Thank you for coming to the show. Very pleased to have you. And you're here today because there is some exciting news. The band, I believe, has been nominated for, and I wrote this down so I would get it right, the Tribute Cover Group of the Year for the Manitoba Country Music Awards.
That is correct.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Is this the band's first nomination for?
Yeah, like we started 6 months to a year ago from different backgrounds and kind of just pulled it together, and then it ended up in a conversation with one of the board members, and the board member actually had to tell us we got nominated because we weren't even looking at it. Like he had just told us that it's like, hey, congrats on the nomination. We're like, oh, thanks, but that wasn't my band. That was
no, exactly. I was super excited to see that. Just like, wow, that's amazing. Just to be in there and just nominated, for something.
Especially since you guys have not been playing together for really that long.
No, not really.
Like you said, 6 months to a year together. I mean, you've been playing music previous to that, obviously.
Yeah.
But so when are the Manitoba Country Music Awards?
November 5th.
Okay.
At the Metropolitan Center in Winnipeg, I believe, on
Okay.
Donald Street.
Okay, and we were talking about this before the show. Voting on them is online, right? Is that?
Yes, you go to manitobacma.com, and then it actually right on the homepage has prompts that you can follow to vote for Fans' Choice or any other category with whatever artists you prefer in country music.
And these are country music artists from across Manitoba.
Yes, there's like you got a few artists out of Winnipeg, you got some out of Brandon. There's ones Manitoba wide, all over the place there.
Which is nice to see that it's not just centralized, like this is for Winnipeg artists, this is all we know. It's really a Manitoba wide kind of a celebration of country music, which is an element of your music, I think, not the entirety of what you play, certainly.
Yeah.
But I think country music is defined very broadly these days, would you say?
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Like there's no definition I find now between our style, which is more rock instrumentals with Mitch's country vocals backing it, or even some of our slower stuff. I find like you look at bigger named artists like Jacob Bryant, Brantley Gilbert, like that's more of a rock band than it is a country band, but they're still country because there's certain elements there that define the country status.
We create categories, but it's really more of a continuum through all different types of music.
Well, exactly, and music's music, right? Like, why do we have to tone it down?
And it helps to add that unique element. With new music that comes out, you think of broadening what was made so it's unique to ourselves, what we enjoy to listen to, but also adding our unique twist to it.
Exactly. I mean, that's why we have different bands existing, right? We aren't all listening to, what was the Lego movie one? Everything is awesome?
Everything is awesome.
To the same song.
Very basic song, but it was incredible. I sang it with my son all the time.
But there was one song, and that was it. So it's really great to see that kind of variety within a category, within country music. So tell me a bit sort of about the band.
Well, I've been around the music scene from a very young age. Some of the trials and tribulations of my life actually led me to music, and music helped me kind of overcome a lot of those troubles. And then, of course, I actually have a career in the music industry now with actually owning my own studio and everything else. And that kind of defines a bit of my background in the music sector.
Yeah, and music for me started at a young age. I've always had music in my life since I was a little kid, and I've always found it just, brings me joy. Whether listening to it or whether making a song, helps me vent whatever I'm feeling at the time, and it's a real healthy like outlet. Yeah.
So I think,
it's really great.
I think a lot of us sort of grew up in loving music, and not a lot of people actually go into professional music performing. So what helped you make that transition from, having this music being meaningful to you producing the music?
Well, I believe that, like for myself, when I'm performing, I get this like euphoria. I feel this sense of like a paradise on stage for a moment. It like takes you away from, just takes you to a happy place. Like it's such a great thing to have, the audience there, and it's this connection with the audience and us as a band, and creates this connection with each other as people.
Yeah.
In general, like I believe that.
Is that sort of
for me, it's kind of the same thing. Like there's a bit of a euphoria there. Like if the crowd is feeling your music, they create this energy that just is an incredible feeling that you never could describe, and no matter how literate you are, like it's just phenomenal. The other side to it too is there's always a story to tell. Like most of us musicians, we've gone through hardships in one way or another, so it becomes that ability to showcase to people that no matter what status you hold, class you hold, any of that, there's people that have gone through the same thing you have. Mm-hmm. So we're telling the story and we're saying like, look, we're with you, we stand with you, and I don't know, I've always been a firm believer if you connect to the music, it's because you can relate to the music.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now this nomination you received is for tribute and cover group, but you are both songwriters as well and producing your own music.
Absolutely.
So which is maybe not necessarily the same as the stuff that you'd be covering. So what sort of stuff, what are the differences between what you cover and what you produce, or what are the similarities?
Well, I know we've played, like Simple Man, Leonard Skinner style of it. Yeah. Turn the Page, which we focused more Metallica-wise on it.
Yeah, and those kind of songs had that resemblance to our kind of music. Like it had that kind of feel of that country rock before they went into other stuff that was more their style of. It was that, they kind of have that sound like Leonard Skinner has that southern rock, but they also had those songs like Simple Man that was kind of across between. They
had more variety than people remember.
Yeah. And I love when that happens, when you can have some songs that are set apart from the common style, but I really love when each song is unique to its own. And
so it's really just about the individual song for you, and not necessarily about the genre or about anything like that.
It's the story.
Yeah, the story and the lyrics.
So that's sort of what you bring to your songwriting then? Mm-hmm. So sort of tell me a bit about that process for you, the songwriting process.
Well, the songwriting process, it comes from either starting with some lyrics of a personal story, some event that happened, or a way that you felt at a certain point. That it can either start with lyrics, or it can start with a guitar groove, some sort of chord structure like that. Could even start with the drums. Then branches off from that. We've done a few
like that, where I just kind of randomly veer off and practice and start playing, and next thing you know, there's an next song.
Yeah.
So it's not a process for you like you write the lyrics and then find the music, or write the music and find the lyrics. It's a very integrated process.
Well, we tend to, I know there's a couple songs that Mitch and I have kind of wrote that we were just sitting and having a friendly visit and that, and of course guitar comes out, and then I've got my notepad out and we're just kind of thinking of different ideas to write about. And then it's one thing my wife loves is that you get Mitch and I in a room, and then we get music focused, and he can grab a guitar, I can start throwing down words, he's throwing out words, I'll grab my electric, and then next thing you know, it's just we're working back and forth on each other, and we wrote one of our songs in an hour. And it's one of our more popular ones that people have heard us play.
It was like, okay, what word would fit here? Oh, this word doesn't quite work. Oh, this one will do.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the word I'm looking for.
coming from
or,
like an instinctive place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
So why don't we sort of take one of your songs and just go through your sort of start to finish process on from where you started, kind of tooling around with it to performance.
Well, I would say where the song begins, you start out softer in some parts, with making the lyrics or the emphasis on certain melodies or the way that you sing it, the way that you play it, drum it, and then it can amp up a bit, and we're trying to find that balance between all of the instruments and having certain emphasis on different parts that it makes a difference in the song. It has that dynamic.
Yeah.
Basically, that's kind of the way the song process goes, and it's just dependent on what part comes first and creating that dynamic.
Well, we tend to, we have some that kind of borderline more on the rock side, like Nightmare Lullaby, stuff like that. That's more like that you're in a dark place, so it's kind of your nightmare is your lullaby, because you got to basically take in your pain in order to be able to sleep that night, right? But that whole process to us coming up with that was literally just, I was playing on the upper neck of my guitar, just kind of messing around and just doing hammer-ons and stuff. Then all of a sudden Mitch come in with an acoustic and we lined it up. And then it was just, we started firing lyrics off based off what we were feeling, off the energy coming from the music itself.
Yeah.
And then from that process, it ended up, okay, nope, we're going into the practice area. I got on the drums. Next thing you know, we just played back, because we had recorded what we did on the deck. And then it's just played it back, and next thing you know, it's just, I didn't even think anything. My arms just started going on the drums. I just found that beat, and then it just fit greatly. And then Mitch is kind of doing the same thing. Next thing you know, he lined his pitch, he lined his tone, everything right across with the lyrics, and that song just was like that.
Yeah.
And it was done.
It's like, yes.
We just got in that groove. We felt it.
So by the time you perform a song for an audience, is the song done, or is there still an evolution process with it?
I mean, in my experience, any song is never done.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's, you can tighten it up. You can make it a little sloppy. You could, add in an extra verse. You can always kind of,
or you could even have an additional,
personalize it.
like as some artists have done, when you add another person in, maybe there is some kind of additional vocal part in there, like as a duet kind of deal for certain songs that come in way later, as we see in some songs out there.
And as your life experiences change, does that song sort of remain in the period when you wrote it, or does it sort of change a bit based on your new experiences?
I would say a part of it stays when you wrote it, in that headspace that I was in, or whoever of us had written it.
Yeah.
But part of that, depending on how we feel at that stage in our life, can still have that connection with it.
Yeah.
But I do think that the song written in the moment kind of stays at that time.
Yeah.
At that particular point in your life. And a lot of the messages in the songs are dealing with hardship and coming out stronger, or resilience.
Yeah.
Persevere.
I know we sort of touched on this as part of your performance and songwriting, but I think for both of you, one of your passions as a band and as your studio as well is the connection between music and mental health.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So did you want to sort of elaborate on that a bit?
I mean, we have our own mental health initiative connected to the studio. Band-wise, Mitch and I both have had trials and tribulations throughout our lives that kind of you'll notice by listening to our songs, that there's very much an understanding and an appreciation for what music can do for it. So really more elaboration than that is a little bit harder. to actually explain. Like, I mean, it's one of those where if they've heard our songs, then they know exactly how we compare, how we try to show people that, you know, the whole concept, you're not alone. There's people that, you know, deal with this stuff daily too.
Yeah.
And we're here to tell you a story and let you know we're with you, right? Like, we feel you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And as we write these songs from these personal experiences, you know, with mental health, it helps us to put that on paper and express that. I found that from songs that have directly spoken or sang about, you know, mental health struggles that like can deeply connect, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, you can really help people with music that
really,
other things couldn't. Yeah.
It comes really then from both sides of the equation, both the production of music on your end, but also the you know, absorption, let's say. I don't want to say consumption, but absorption of music on the listener's end and the connection with it.
Well, I know, like, a highlight for us is if we're up on stage and we're playing those songs and we're pouring our heart out, because that's essentially what a musician's doing, right? Is we're giving you all of us and you decide what you're doing with it. So at that point, like, the highlight for, I'm pretty sure Mitch will agree, is when we played like Rock in the Riverbend here, we had people of all ages that were, they're tapping their foot, they're dancing with us when we played in Carberry, because we played the West Men suicide prevention fundraiser out in Carberry. And we had people dancing, kids on the blanket, like, just couldn't sit still, like they were just having a heyday. And that to us that's what we want to see. You don't have to sing our songs back to us. That's still cool, but it's still one of those, if you're feeling what we're throwing at you, then we're loving every minute of it.
That individual connection, whether it's you know, a 2-year-old who's just vibing with your beat, or, you know, that 50-year-old who's like, okay, this resonates, these words resonate with me.
Yeah, you can have a mixture of those feelings. You can have the more, you know, emotional stuff, or that people find that connection, or you can have that, they can still have that important message, but it's more upbeat in the rhythm and groove that, you know, it's still like fun at the same time as an important message.
I think without going down too much of a philosophical road, that's kind of what music is as an entity. That's how it's different from different art forms. Is that different levels of connection and those different messaging and all that. Just music is very difficult to define.
It is. It, like, all of the feelings you get, or, you know, a certain message, or it can bring you back. Like, you hear of some message in a song and it brings you to a point in your life, you're like, I remember that. Music
and memory has this huge connection as well. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So bringing it back just a little bit to the award nomination again. Now, do you know if that's based on live performance or is that based on recordings?
It would be, I would say, live, because we haven't actually released any of our tracks. We're actually currently, and we're excited to announce, we actually are currently close to ready to release 2 singles.
All right, tell me about this.
So the first single we want to release is Mirrors, which has kind of been one that everyone seems to know and love, and it I would say it's more derived around, no matter how old you get, based off the traumas you faced in your life, there's always, when you're looking into a mirror, you're always seeing a darker version of yourself. So you're trying to balance your life based off both sides of that mirror, right? So like the first opening line on that everyone loves is like, it's he belts out mirrors and then reflections of shattered dreams, right? So when you're looking at it, it's kind of, you can see that on both ends. Like, now we've learned to persevere, be resilient, but there's still that side of us that's still there that second guesses every moment we have after that event, right? So that one there, we're actually hoping to have the final piece put into it on Friday.
Okay.
And then hopefully by next week we'll have a release date out for everybody to be able to go on Spotify, iTunes, wherever.
Excellent.
And be able to nab that one. And then Mitch and I have been working on What Truly Matters, which was kind of our ballad that showcases no matter where you go in life, always stay true to your roots and what truly matters to you.
Yeah, exactly. Truly matters what, you're doing what you love.
Yeah.
Or recognizing the time with our loved ones.
Right.
Is, the most important, that we can get so caught up with the things that don't really matter, or, trying to change things that don't really matter. But when we focus on, really being ourselves and, just doing that.
This is really exciting news, because a lot of us here in Westman have had the opportunity to hear you play, but this releasing the singles can really bring that to a wider audience for you.
Well, and that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah.
We're hoping to get it out there, and like we're one of those bands too that we love to play. We love to tell our story. We love to play and have our music heard. If it stays in our local community, then it stays in our local community.
Yeah.
We were happy to be able to done it. We're going to continue to write. We're going to continue to play. That's just what we love to do, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we play no matter what. We play because we love to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we play to one person as we play to 100 people. Same expression, because we love it.
And that's the best music comes from that place, I think.
Yeah.
People do it for that reason, because they can't not do it.
Mm-hmm.
And in some places I've gone to, especially with a career in the industry, is you start to see artists that were phenomenal writers, everything, and then you kind of start to see that commercial twist.
Yeah.
Halfway through, once they get noticed, they get whatever, and then you start to see that their writing slowly starts to move the needle to the opposite end.
Yeah.
And they're playing what sells, not what they have to say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes this like, well, what happened to you? Like, you're a great musician. Why did you change? Like,
Well, forget that's what got them the attention in the first place, was that music coming from that
heart.
authentic place.
The heart, the originality, based on your own personal stories.
And those personal stories can never be generic, because they are coming from yourself and your experiences.
Exactly.
It showcases individuality.
Yeah. So what's sort of next for the band? Do you move on to like an EP or an album? Is that still a thing that people do? I don't know.
Yeah. That's actually,
or is it just all singles these days? I don't know.
We've had a lot of people pushing us to get some tracks out there. So we kind of figured, okay, we're going to push a few, get them out there. These tracks, we're actually going to work with a few well-known musicians from various communities
Yeah.
that are actually going to be featured on these tracks.
Any hints?
Or
is this a surprise?
Well, it is secretive. We can tell you
Okay.
one of which musicians resides in our town, like in Neepawa area.
And that actually does not narrow it down, because Neepawa has a wide variety of artists. So.
Then there's a very well-known blues artist from Winnipeg.
Okay.
That is going to be on there as well. And
Also
then
does not narrow it down.
and there's also going to be someone from a lot of people's childhood.
Okay.
That plays a few pieces.
I'm going to start a rumor you're playing with Fred Penner.
Okay. Okay. I would do something with Fred Penner. I think that would be awesome.
That could be a cool idea.
Hey,
as a
Can we get Mr. Rogers
as a
too?
little video along with our song.
Yeah.
There you go.
Or it's nice to have a lot of, talent. Talented musicians.
I mean, Manitoba is known
to work with
for its
other
music.
musicians.
Has always produced an incredible number of great musicians, great bands, not just locally, but people who become big worldwide.
Yep.
So we are a very musical province, and it's nice to see you guys and someone sort of homegrown being a part of that.
Absolutely.
What would you want people to know about you and about your music? Like maybe the one thing you want people to know the most.
All our music comes from the heart.
Yeah.
We've personally lived every aspect of our lyrics, even as much as most people don't admit to the dark side of themselves. I'll be the first to admit the dark side of our lyrics. We've lived it.
Yeah.
So we don't hold anything back. If we got something to say, we're going to say it.
Yeah.
And sorry if you don't like it.
Exactly.
But it's one of those things where no one gets anywhere by sugarcoating.
And
So we're going to tell the story as it's meant to be told.
And it's so important to be honest.
Yeah.
To be honest to yourself and to be honest what you're putting out there, because it's out there for, like,
Ever.
it's out there forever, but it's out there for the world to see, and you want it to be honest, to represent who you are, not to put on a show, but not in that way.
Yeah. Thank you. That is very well put. Before I let you go, there is one more thing I wanted to talk about. And this is, and I wrote this one down again to make sure I got it exactly right. Your studio has also been nominated for an award.
Yes.
That is the Studio of the Year for Frozen Fire Studio for the Manitoba Loud Music Awards.
Yes, yeah, actually, it was quite exciting when we got that nomination notification. And I mean, Manitoba Loud Music Awards, we've kind of been a part of. Like, we were a title sponsor last year. We're actually partnered up with one of the head guys for the planning.
Yeah.
Because he owns Badlands Promotions out of Portage.
Right.
And
okay.
he's actually on the planning committee for Manitoba Loud as well. So Manitoba Loud, we've definitely been no stranger from. And
Yeah.
I mean, like, our label artist Indigo has been nominated for the last 2 years for the female fronted band of the year. So I mean, we've been there in support of her and in support of Badlands Promotions for everything they're trying to do for, Manitoba's music scene and stuff like that. So I mean, for us to get that, it was kind of that wave of just like, this is incredible. Like, all the blood, sweat, and tears we put in to build and do everything we possibly can. Okay, well,
out here in
a little
Nipawak.
bit, a little bit of acknowledgement for being a rural based, and it kind of showcased, like, okay, our community is with us, people are with us, so much so that they nominated us, right? So it was a little surreal at first. Like, I kind of sat back at first and like, is this legit, or am I dreaming? Like, what's happening here? But I mean, after about 4 years of operation and pushing and trying to do different things in smaller communities, being a huge sponsor of a lot of, like, mental health based events or different festivals and stuff that are going around, it was kind of nice to see the little bit of kickback. And even if and we're very much one company that even if we don't win it, we're still just absolutely honored that people thought of us just to put our name in the running to begin with.
It's getting it out there that this exists in rural Manitoba. It's quality that's being put out here, and it can compete on par with anybody.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your nominations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming and joining me today.
Absolutely.
It's been an absolute pleasure sitting down and talking with you guys.
It's been a pleasure to be here.
It's been awesome.
And thank everyone out there for joining us. We will see you again next time on Coffee Chat.